Welcome to the WellPlayed DLC podcast, Australia's juiciest gaming podcast. I am Zach Jackson. Joining me is Adam Ryan,
Hello.
James Wood,
Mid-drink.
Hi, gamers.
Nathan Hennessy.
Nathan Hennessy. Hello, Zach Jackson.
Oh, okay. How you going? And Mr. famously known for not watching movies is back, Kieran Verbruge.
Hello. I've never seen a single movie.
Ever.
Can I get a fact check on that?
No.
Yeah, give me a second.
No
Hold
fact
on.
checks. We said that before the podcast.
True.
Yep, no.
True. We've said a lot of things.
That was part of his return agreement.
Welcome back. Good to have you on board again. How you been?
Good to be back. I've been okay. I
Okay.
have a lot of free time at the moment. It's great.
Lovely, lovely. I can see a little horizon thing in the background. What's that?
That's
What's going on there?
unintentional. I'm rearranging things in here, so that actually I didn't mean to do that, but yes.
Nice. What
I
do
thought you were going to try and name the statue that was just next to the Horizon box.
That would have
and
been more
thought that's a
impressive.
Bold move.
That's got to be
Is that from
some.
Zelda?
I was going to say it's some crony from Final Fantasy.
Hey, that's half points.
No, it's not.
It's,
It is, but
No,
it's
it
also not a name.
Is that Mr. Final Fantasy?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sizen or something. What?
Slizen?
What's the guy's name? What's the dude with the hair?
Do that one more time.
I don't know what I just said. Slazen or something.
Just making sounds at this point.
What's the guy's like? There's the two. Who's the dude I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Cloud. Who's the other guy with the hair? They've all got hair, but
Sky?
You are. I think the
Hey.
other guy with the hair is probably.
You're in the
right.
ballpark, so I'm quite happy with that.
The fact you got Cloud, I think, was.
He got the right game, so,
Solid.
pay that.
Yeah.
so it's from Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
Which
we
is
established that.
Cool.
Give us a number, and I'll be stoked.
Well, I know that Kieran's favorite's number 8.
Wow.
I remember that.
Wow. Okay.
But that can't be. That's got to be newer. Surely it's got to be. I reckon it's the remake, something or other.
I mean, you're there.
Like not
I think we'll
right,
give
not
it to
wrong.
him.
You know, just yeah.
I think we'll
Yeah.
give it to him on
He's in a
that.
hair's breadth. Yeah.
All right.
Do you want to pay
Anything
up
else? Anything else you want to talk about back here, or are we good to move on?
What brand's the aircon?
I was just going to ask this. You and I are a problem.
It's a Mitsubishi.
Yeah, I just got those installed. Eh?
Vroom,
What do
vroom.
what do you think? Don't you
That's
wish?
It's fast.
You can do a lot of kilometers on those.
Yeah.
All right, pump the brakes. Let's get into video games right now. Actually, no, hang on. We haven't asked how the other 3 lads are. How are you other 3 boys? James, how are you going? You're on the white wine
Ready to
side,
talk
so
about video games.
I feel like it's been a week for you.
Has it?
I don't know. Has it? You tell me.
Oh, I mean, actually, well, I mean, all weeks are weeks for James, but yeah.
Adam?
I was telling James prior to recording that I'm angry that it's not dark yet because daylight savings is a fucking farce and it's 8 o'clock. It should just be dark. I'm not going to go to the park at 8 o'clock and, have a fun time. Think about the cows is what I'm saying.
It's dark in
Think
Melbourne.
about the cows. Well, it is now, but like when we were meant to start recording, which we never do.
6 hours ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
The sun was
fucking-
still very much in the sky.
Crimea River. Nathan, how you going? Any clowns?
Oh, come back to me when you're serious, mate.
That's a
No,
deep
I haven't
cut
seen it.
reference.
Oh, no, I haven't seen the clowns in this last week. Saw them the week before, though. Yeah. They're out and about. The funny thing is they're getting on the window wipers turf, mate. A little turf war happening. Those intersections, that's normally where the window wipers hang out. So the window wipers aren't getting action if they're having to compete with fucking clowns, are they?
You ever given someone coins to wipe your windows?
It's I've come close, but social
no.
anxiety, mate. I don't want to breach that.
Okay.
Experience
James?
a
Pay the clowns.
conversation with him, light goes green. What are you going to do? You're not going to drive away from him. I won't say that because we don't want to censor it. But yeah, I'm not a bad person.
Thank you.
Do you pay the clowns though, or do people pay the clowns? Is
No,
what James
just laugh
asked?
at him. Oh yeah, they do pay them. Yeah.
Is it out of fear or?
God knows what goes through their heads, mate. Yeah,
Mm.
that's a sociological study waiting to happen.
Nice. All right. As James requested, let's talk video games. Anyone got anything to talk about before we hit the content? Yep. A few nodding heads, a few shaking heads.
Yeah,
Okay.
I spent the weekend playing a bit of Alan Wake 2 again because that game's fantastic. Unbeknownst to me, I was most of the way through a second playthrough. I went back just to play through the DLC, but I was like, oh, look, I'm a couple chapters from the end. I may as well just see this save to completion, which I did. That took a couple hours, and then I played through all of Night Springs, the first DLC, and it is fucking fantastic.
Hell
It
yeah.
is almost nothing like the base game, but the experience it offers is a nice little, I don't know, a nice little aside from the main story. It's very cool. And I've started the lake house. I think I'm like maybe very, very early in, like 20 minutes maybe, but that definitely has more of the survival horror vibes that the base game does, and it's just starting to get spooky, and I am very much enjoying it. Game continues to be
Mm.
great. Kieran,
Is that-
you've played the expansions.
Yeah. Yeah, I played
Does-
through both of them.
Does Lake House continue to be good past the opening moments?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
It's only it's short, so like
Yeah.
maybe 3 hours tops. But I feel like even 20 minutes and you've probably got a good sense of the vibe. Very
Yep.
like sort of just one shot, sort of haunted house, spooky kind of vibes with key cards and shotguns and stuff. It's good.
All about it. Very keen. So yeah, that was my weekend.
What's the cost of those little nuggets?
It comes with the deluxe edition, which I don't know what that is on, but it's like $30 on top of the price of the game, essentially, for both of the expansions, and then like, I don't know, some cosmetics and other bits and pieces. But I feel like I've already got roughly $30 worth out of what I've played, so I'm pretty happy with it.
You gonna buy the physical?
I would like to. I really wish I just
no.
bought the. No further questions. No worries.
Yikes.
Nathan, how about you? How about you?
Yeah, look, I need to issue a speedy little retraction on last week's rant. I was having a bit of a whinge about Silent Hill 2 because I've been in a bit of a rut with it. I was wrong, kinda. So I was like, yeah, I got issues with, combat design, stuff like that. Yeah, look, I think they were valid, but I was definitely talking them up. My issues with that game are actually like squared off into a very precise section. It's the start of the hospital sequence till effectively the start of where you start beginning your descent to the prison. So the hospital and the part that immediately after that, don't like it. I kind of stand by a lot of the stuff that I said with just like encounter designs just being too heavily handed in terms of combat and it not really being very balanced. And then you've got to put up with the fact that the combat's a bit sloppy in those hallways. Very, very frustrating. We didn't end up lowering the difficulty on the puzzles or the combat. The puzzles also were just completely a fucking joke in the hospital. But after that, they're fine. We're still brute forcing some stuff, but we weren't wasting time and we weren't backtracking anywhere near as much. So by the time we rolled credits, which we did over last week, we were delighted. I was delighted. I thought it was remarkably good for what I expected. Yeah, James, jump on in, buddy.
What ending did you get?
The Laura ending. Child?
Same. Yeah, which I don't really understand how I got to that point.
Not at all.
But,
Not at
yes.
all.
Yeah.
But I was really chuffed. And James, you really praised the presentation on that game in your discussion last week. And my goodness, it's stellar. Like that is a soundtrack I'd like to own. Just blows me away. And yeah, just what they've done with the cutscenes, particularly the facial animations specifically, it's just so remarkable. Really, really hopeful we get to see maybe a little bit more of what Bluebird could do there, perhaps iteratively. Adam!
Oh, hello, Adam from WellPlayed here. Since it's been out for, I don't know, a couple of weeks now, Are some of the more ridiculous endings that were in the original in this game as well?
Oh yeah.
Or-
So there's 8 endings. So there's a couple new ones in
Oh,
there
shit.
that they've put their own spin on the funny wiki
Yeah,
wacky
cool.
endings.
All right, so they're still about. Nice.
Yeah. Just
Good
just really
stuff.
pleased that experience redeemed itself after what was a real pitfall. Like I really, really cannot emphasize how much I disliked that section. But of course, if you listen to last week's podcast, you heard me get fiery. But the rest of that experience was pretty good.
Me and Anna actually started it this weekend, just gone. So,
How much does
Hey.
Anna hate it? Scale 1 to 10.
uh,
Hmm.
5 at the moment, probably. But I
Okay.
feel
Yeah, right.
like we're still very, very, very early. I've only just done the jukebox puzzle. Like, so we're still
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
very, very early on. But yeah, we only probably played for like an hour, maybe.
That's a solid hour.
But yeah, or whatever it was, I can't remember. But atmosphere is pretty cool thus far.
Yes.
So I'd be keen to play it with some headphones, maybe some steel Citrix
100%.
headphones.
The
But
headphones elevated the experience extraordinarily for me.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, cool. Anything else, Nathan?
Nope. Over you, boss.
One thing I want to talk about, because I didn't talk about this a few weeks ago, but I bought the DLC for Payday 3. I know what you're thinking. Why? Why? Why did I do this to myself?
Are they meant
You
to be
and the
paying
dozen
you, mate?
people that are still playing it going to have a great time.
Look, me and my good mate, we that's our thing. That's our thing that we do. James gets it.
I do.
You played Resident Evil.
I mean, I
fucking
actually do
6.
play a lot of shitty multiplayer games, so like,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it.
What I will say though is I found the DLC missions to be really good. I really enjoyed my time with it so far. I think they were $10 each, $8 each, $11 each, something like that. I can't quite remember, but yeah, really, really enjoying them thus far. So far, we've managed to. There's 5. We've done 3. I don't know. I can't remember. But so far we have like pretty much stealthed 3 of them thus far, which is fucking awesome.
bad.
Yeah, it's good fun. It's good fun when you can get all the way through without being seen and stuff. But yeah.
Wouldn't know what that's like, honestly.
No,
but-
no, playing with you, that was never going to happen, James. So, but yeah, that's pretty much been my spare time. Kieran,
Very nice.
how about you, mate? Surely you haven't been on the grind 24/7.
A little bit. But what else have I played recently? I've been playing Metaphor a lot. So that game fucking rips. I love it. I wish I had more time to play it because it's a heady game. But I'm really enjoying that.
Good.
And other than that, like, yeah, just I recently got into Hades, which I hadn't done until now.
Yeah, I had a Hades session a few months back. It's great.
Yeah, great little game. My partner's been on like a bit of a roguelike streak ever since Balatro launched, which is like a weird way to get into roguelikes, but it's worked as a platform somehow.
Yeah.
So we've just been like trying things out, and Hades has really clicked. So I'm very happy with that.
If you're keen on Hades, just to give a little bit of a shout out, our good friends over in New Zealand, Hyperreal, their game Blackheart actually launches this week. It's a Hades inspired little thing. So yeah, check that out if you're into those sorts of games. James is his lips are pursed. Anything you want to?
Smiling. Just smiling.
We love the support.
Nothing
don't
but
we, James?
smiles here.
That's it. How about you, James? What have you been playing?
I've got 2 trophies left in Remnant 2, which has been a really fun journey.
Hell yeah.
Having a great time with that.
I bet you are.
I am. But I think that's actually it. I think everything else has just been the old contentification.
That's it, mate. The machine's got to keep chugging away.
Churning it out.
That's it. Just very, very quickly before we move on, this is a question probably for James and Kieran. I don't know who more so, but I actually got a code the other night because I forgot that it came out ages ago. But Phoenix Springs, does anyone know
Oh,
game?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like a point and click
okay.
game. When I first saw it, I was like, "Fuck! Like, I really want to play this." And then I saw that it came out on like Switch or something recently. Like,
Mm.
so I hit him up. So I'm keen to check that out. But that, from what I
That
can
game looks
remember,
cool.
yeah, I thought you two be into that.
You thought correct.
Look, sometimes I know things. Other times I don't check
it.
the schedule and I don't know things. But
Mm.
here we
Mm.
are. Here we are. All right.
Surprised you got a code that didn't end up in the trash.
Oh, what could he mean?
Is that code for? Actually, that wasn't meant to be a pun. Is that code for handballing it to one of you guys? Oh, I got a code here.
I mean, it
check
can be. Yeah.
Check it out.
I'll be your bin.
Mm.
I think you've all been my bin at some stage. So
Yep,
It's a rite of
absolutely.
passage.
it is. It is. All right. Speaking of things that don't go in the bin, though, a couple of weeks ago I went to Sydney and I played about 2 hours, 90 minutes, 100 minutes of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Sorry, the name, the name in the doc kind of threw me there for a second. Yeah, so we got access to that, which gave us a look at three brief little intro section, and then 2 other areas. One was a bit more linear, and one was a bit more open worldy, and we got more time in the open worldy area. So this is the game that's being made by Machine Games, and yeah, so we got it's kind of started with Indy at the college that he's working at, and then someone had someone had broken in and was trying to steal an artifact, and then you basically have a bit of a beatdown with this intruder, and he ends up kicking your ass, and then you kind of take on the game from there. So right after that, you got to solve like a little puzzle and figure out what this guy has stolen, and then from there you discover that you need to go to the Vatican. So off we went to the Vatican. And this area here, which we only had a little bit of time with, is a lot more linear, and it's designed for more of a stealth approach. So this is where you really need to not kind of engage in too much combat, because you can easily be overwhelmed. And there's a number of enemies kind of roaming the area, but yeah, you kind of get that level gave us a little bit of a look at the tools that Indy's got. So like his whip, for example, so you can kind of whip enemies and whatnot, which stuns them, and then you can basically beat them down and kind of knock them out, and then you can use it to climb buildings and whatnot. With combat and climbing and carrying stuff, it's all linked to not linked, but he's got a stamina meter, right? And you got 6 blocks of stamina, so you kind of got to manage that throughout as you go. So if you're trying to run away, from a group of people, you've only got like a little bit of stamina, so it all kind of ties into it. So you can't, sometimes you can't just make your presence known and then fuck off, because you can easily just run out of gas and stuff. So I did find that climbing with the whip was a bit finicky, because you have to kind of, I'm trying to remember the exact buttons, but it's like you kind of got to push R1 and then push in the R3 to then push up on the other stick, and it just kind of it did feel a bit off. But I think it just might be something that you kind of get used to as the game goes on, and you kind of find that sweet spot. But I really enjoyed the area in the Vatican, because there's heaps of detail in the background too. Like there's maps and paintings and stuff in the background that are got really good detail. I wish I'd written some stuff down, because there was a particular painting or map or something that had some good details in it, but silly me, didn't write down the detail. In the environment, there's like guitars, there's brooms, there's shovels, and you can use those to kind of knock out your enemies and stuff like that, and you got to kind of drag them away to keep them out of sight. All pretty stock standard sort of stuff. But I will say, even from that very first like the introduction sort of section, you definitely got the feel of an Indiana Jones spin-off, right, or like a adaptation. Troy Barker, for love him or hate him, he's good at what he does, and he does a very good Harrison Ford impersonation. There are there are moments where you kind of hear that twang that he's kind of got in his voice, but for the most part, he does a really good job. And then then the second part of the preview was the one that we spent most of the time in, and that was in Giza. And here you kind of, there's a bunch of different things that you could do. So I decided to go and pursue this golden mask, this little mask thing. It took me to like underneath this Sphinx thing, and this is where I was like, I was already pretty interested in this game because this is kind of up my alley kind of thing, a bit of like The Mummy, a bit of like National Treasure kind of mixed in. I mean, it's Indiana Jones, right? So, but I should just gone with that. But but here, like, those kind of treasure hunting, cool puzzle kind of in the temples and stuff is where I was like, I'm sold. I was a bit iffy on the combat, because I do find the combat a bit clunky. You do have to kind of time your block with like correctly, and I kind of don't think I really got the feel of it across my 2-hour kind of playthrough. Question, Adam.
Hello,
WellPlayed.
Adam from WellPlayed. I've got a question about, because obviously it's a first-person game, right? But it has those moments where it flicks back into third person when you're swinging or jumping, or I don't know, just like the contextual things I've seen in trailers. Did you get much of that while you were playing, kind of just in general gameplay? And if so, was it jarring, or was it kind of smooth enough where it didn't bother you too much?
From memory, the only parts where it did kind of switch to that third person is when you were use your whip to climb an area, or you did stuff like that. I don't recall it happening in any other sort of gameplay moment, especially not combat or anything like that. So like I found that part fine, and in fact I found it quite good, because I do think that if you are playing a game as Indiana Jones, you kind of want to see him from time to time, which is because initially I was like, this should be a third person game, right? Having played it, I'm happy that I would still prefer a third person, but the fact that it's first person doesn't bother me at all. But in this Giza part, you can one of the other mechanics, I guess, is that you can go and you can get disguises. So one of the first things I did was go and get this dig site worker disguise, and that allowed me to kind of walk through these different areas of the camp without kind of being detected. There are so like captains, they will spot you, like they will recognize that you're not a worker, and then if you go into like restricted areas, then it'll raise suspicion, more so because obviously workers aren't meant to be in these restricted areas, so you kind of got to sneak around and stuff like that. But in the when I was doing this mask puzzle thing, there were just a bunch of puzzles where you got to use like mirrors and stuff to kind of bounce light off one another and do all that sort of stuff, and it was pretty neat. There was nothing overly too challenging, and then right towards the end, when I kind of got this mask, you were in this room full of like scorpions and stuff, and it was quite neat. It definitely felt like an Indiana Jones experience. And when the music does hit, like when you get that Indiana Jones music, which did happen right at the start, it felt like they'd done a lot of work at making it feel like a proper Indiana Jones experience, which I quite liked. I haven't seen the films for a very, very, very long time. Probably more than 20 years, I'd say, but the good ones anyway.
I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
Indiana Jones, as far as like games are concerned, he's had games in the past, right? They've been third person and interesting quality, I would say, varying. I don't know. But it definitely, I suppose, inspired Tomb Raider and Uncharted. So we've already had kind of like the globe-trotting, treasure-seeking adventures in the gaming medium. Does this do enough to kind of, I know it's, Indiana Jones inspired those games are now, this kind of is borrowing from them a little bit as well. Does it do enough in what you've played to kind of be separate from that and be its own thing, or does it feel like it's kind of retreading water but just in first person?
I think it's different because, firstly, it's set in an earlier time, so it's set in the 30s, as opposed
Sure.
to like a more moderny kind of time. So you don't kind of have the full arsenal that that Drake or Lara would have. It's definitely, at least in the sections that I've played, they are not as action focused. Like it is very clear that you need to be stealth, like when you can, and then because obviously you like you did have access to a gun. I never actually used it in the preview because I actually forgot that I did have it. But like using the whip was kind of cool. And then just using like I smashed some guy with a guitar, and then there was like a violin, and so there's a whole bunch of stuff in the world that you can use. But I do. Oh God, I don't want to know. I don't know what's going on, but the video listeners will know by the Discord prompts that something's going on. But
those are still going on, are they?
Yeah, I forgot to turn them off. Next week, you got to remind me to disable them. Yeah, I think it does enough. Kieran.
Cool.
Kieran from the internet. As someone who famously doesn't watch movies and hasn't seen the Indiana Jones films, but I am a machine games fan. Like, what part of what you played felt like their influence, if anything?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a tricky one. I
Nazis?
mean, yeah, well, I was going to say that and the first person, but
There are Nazis in Indiana Jones, though. Like, they didn't invent Nazis.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. It's...
Well, Nazis are made famous in Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I think if you sat a person down and you gave them a slice of Wolfenstein and a slice of Indiana Jones, I don't think you would directly go, these are the same developers.
Right. Okay.
At least
Maybe
from...
if you use the bloody gun, we'd know a little bit more, as if they were linked.
Well, maybe, but like hand-to-hand combat was one of the... Combat wasn't the best thing. Yeah, like I don't think this combat's going to be... Like at least in the little parts that I did play, I tried to not engage in combat. That could just be me because I couldn't nail the timing of the
shit.
Possibly, but I wasn't shit though. Like I was doing an all right job, but it was one of those things where if you like, there's a moment in the Vatican where I don't think it's a flying. Actually, maybe it is a flying fox, but you flying fox down into this thing, and there's like 4 or 5 guys there, right? And you've got to manage your blocking, your stamina. You're blocking, you're punching, you're whipping, all that stuff, and like you're running around and not to get kind of just those things. It felt like the combat wasn't designed for those moments, if that kind of makes sense. Like, question.
If the combat wasn't designed for those moments, didn't they design the moments and the combat?
As in, like I think having that number of enemies in one spot for hand-to-hand combat.
Put the enemies there.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. Like that part wasn't. I didn't find that overly fun.
Right.
What I will say is they're quite easy.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, like it wasn't overly challenging. But it just felt. It felt like it felt.
I mean, it doesn't sound like it was fun either.
It was fine. I didn't. My takeaway was I really liked the investigating. Doing the treasure puzzles and stuff like that. Like that's what I'm playing Indiana Jones for. Like to go back to kind of Adam's question, I feel like some people may play Uncharted and Tomb Raider for half for the third person combat and that sort of stuff, or the action moments. But yeah, I think it was only a small slice of what is probably a much bigger game. I don't think we've had any indication of how big it is at the moment. They did say, no, they didn't say. there was a person from Machine Games there, and they did mention that there were several places that you do go throughout in the game. I don't think they ever put a number on it though.
It sounds
yeah.
like they're coming away from the preview. You're more keen on it than you were going in.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm definitely I'm excited for it, and I think like the combat works when there's one or two enemies about. When you have a sort of group of
Yeah.
enemies, it kind of loses its because at least, and this is kind of what I say in my preview is that Indy's not Nathan Drake. Like he's not snapping necks and shooting people. It's just but I think the way they've done it works if you can get a handle on the combat itself. I think once you kind of
Sure.
learn how it works, But that's from I didn't have a lot of combat because I avoided it. What I will say, and actually I didn't write this in the preview, but I gave it the benefit of the doubt because it's a preview, but the AI was pretty dumb. There's a part where I'm walking literally in broad daylight down a Giza road where the sun's, and I've just gone. There's like 3 guards or 2 guards like walking up the road, and I've just like gone straight to the kind of wall or to as far away as I can, and just walk past them, to kind of avoid those moments. But it is also that thing where you only have X amount of time, and you want to try and see as much as possible and not get bogged down in the combat. But you can there is upgrades and stuff. You can find books and stuff in the world that will upgrade your skills and stuff. So maybe as you kind of upgrade some skills, there's a bit more to it.
Nice.
December 9 is when the game comes out. So, Anyone else excited? Anyone else keen? James, I know you're absolutely frothing. Troy Baker, massive fan.
I
Barker.
I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this based on what you saw, but like one of my big points of contention with Star Wars Outlaws is that for a game that was trying to ape the kind of visual language of cinema and specifically, Lucasfilm, this era of cinema, right? It didn't end up doing that with a lot of its camera work and general kind of like movement through a space. Did you get an impression that like this game was framed in a more cinematic way because of its inspiration point, or
I think maybe the cutscenes.
okay.
I don't think because it's obviously like first person, it's kind of a bit hard. I definitely think the cutscenes are done well from what I can remember. Like there's a moment it's kind of got that comedic spin on it too. That's kind of in those type of films. Like there's a moment where in Giza where you're with a contact, and this contact's got a snake, and this person goes, "Can you go and feed the snake?" And old mate's bloody cacking his dacks because he does want to. He's a bit spooked of the snake. So it's just But like it felt like it would be in one of the films. Is what I'm saying.
I hear you. Yeah, not Easter eggy necessarily.
No, I don't know. I mean, again, I don't remember much of the films at all, so I couldn't tell you if there were any Easter eggs. I might go back and watch a couple of them before the game comes out. Kieran, you gonna unbox that Series X to play this?
I would have played it if I hadn't traded in my Xbox, but unfortunately, I am unemployed, and the Xbox was a liability.
You could have been employed, and it still would have been a liability. To be fair,
yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know.
Happier
I
with
might
the
I might
$400.
resub to Game Pass and like play it on my Samsung TV, I guess. But like, yeah, I do really want to play it. So if it comes to PlayStation at some point, I'll be there.
Well, it's
Isn't
coming
it confirmed to come in
early
PlayStation?
next year.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
okay.
They say spring,
you go.
so I guess that's our winter.
Mhm.
All right. Any further questions on Indie? There's probably stuff I've missed, so go and read the preview. It's full of content. James edited it, so it's absolutely immaculate. It's an immaculate read. Bring some candles and some oil. Yeah. All right,
Jesus.
James,
All right. All right. Life is Strange, Double Exposure. This is Deck 9's sequel to 2015's Life is Strange. So we're about 10 years out now from that initial game.
2015.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Passage of time, as it does, it passes. And I think for a lot of people, the fact that they were going back to the well with Max Caulfield, the main character of that first game, was always a bit of a fraught sort of thing to potentially be doing. I think when we talked about this in the preview window, I had played the first 2 episodes and I thought it was exceptional. I was very excited to sort of see where it all goes. I don't really want to bury the lead on this one because this isn't going to be fun. This is bad, like shockingly bad, actually. So Double Exposure. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Hang on,
No,
hang on.
you can't do this to me.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on. Wait.
Okay.
A week ago?
Yeah. About
You
2
were-
weeks. Yeah.
2 weeks ago, you were like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
So,
now you've torn
there
your
are 5
lips off and
episodes.
burnt them. Right, okay.
Yes. 5
Oh.
episodes of Life is Strange Double Exposure. Episodes 1 and 2 are fantastic. 2 has a couple of wobbly pacing issues, but for the most part, they're really exceptional experiences. 3 is mostly really good. And then you get to the end of 3, and this game's plot does something that is, it jumps like 20 sharks at once. And subsequently tanks everything that comes after it in such a way where it retroactively makes those first 2 episodes a mute point. There is I don't know what to do with how I feel about this game now because I was riding quite high. I guess as a preamble, we do pick up with Max again. She is now, I think, 30 years old. So this is very much a like proper adult Max Caulfield now, with all the lessons, all the trauma, everything learned from Arcadia Bay firmly intact. You get a small choice at the beginning of the game that kind of lets you decide what the canonical ending for Arcadia Bay was, and also what her and Chloe were to each other. They can either be super good mates or they can be super kissy mates, which is just wonderful. So all that's fine. You start off in a pretty solid place with the first episode that's relatively subdued, pretty mature about how it presents its story. She is now I guess like a resident of Caledon University. She has a whole bunch of new friends and new faculty members that she interacts with all the time now. At the end of the first episode, her new best friend gets her best friend is Safi. She gets murdered. And then it is basically, hey, my powers are now back. I can step between 2 different realities, one in which my best friend is murdered and one in which she is still alive. And I'm going to use that ability to figure out what happened to my friend. We're going to do some sleuthing. We're going to solve the mystery and everything. It's such a strong setup because it so specifically trades on a lot of the thematic meat of the first game, except now we've got an adult in the lead role. And so she has an adult's understanding of things like trauma and survivor's guilt and, you know, friendship, lesbianism, queer culture. Like it's all there in that first episode. It is such an exciting, thrilling initial impression that Deck 9 make here that made me think that like, they've done it. They've found a way to make the impossible sequel function. Even if it isn't what people wanted necessarily, it was going to stand sort of on its own right. And then just as you get progressively deeper and deeper into this thing, it entirely loses the track, like the thread of anything that made it interesting in the first place. It largely gets concerned with this, a lot of like subplot stuff involving Safi and her friends and her family, which is all fine. But it's so completely separated from what made the first 2 episodes interesting in the first place, and is also just it entirely sidelines Max's character to the point where you kind of wonder why this wasn't just original characters in the first place. It's that thing that I was worried that they were doing, which is break glass in case of emergency. Let's just bring back someone recognizable to helm this story. Yeah, it's just I am struggling to put into words how much it comes off the rails after the end of episode 3. The last 2 episodes are much shorter. They're really condensed. They are buggy as all shit. It is just, it feels like an unfinished experience. Zach from WellPlayed.
I just have a question, and you kind of touched
Yeah.
on it there. But what's the length of these episodes roughly?
It runs a bit all over the place. There's also a lot of explore that you can. I mean, I think on average, the first 3 were about 2.5 hours, roughly. So like nice little meaty things. Then after that, it's like an hour and then maybe an hour 10. It just really just clips along and wraps up after that point. But like it takes all the tension and all the thrill that you had of what was going on here because it's riffing on things like Twin Peaks now, Fire Walk with Me. Like it's very specifically going for a more mature adult vibe in a way that, yeah, Kieran, you turn your head, but like it's very exciting. Like that is a thrilling concept to be playing with. And then it just says, what if you hung out in a bar for the last 2 episodes and solved this middling author mystery? And it's just bad. Like it's hard for me to put into words exactly how bad it is without you playing it, but like it lets all the air out of the room. It just ruins a lot of its character work. It's not particularly fun to engage with. You know, in that first game, it was a lot about holding down the button, rewind time, sort of have fun with that. Not super mechanically complex by any, stretch. But this game here, you've got the stepping between realities, which fades sort of further and further the deeper you get into the experience. At one point during the last episode, it reminded me that Max can like take photos of people and do a double exposure, which I hadn't done for like 2 full episodes or thought about it all. It just doesn't know how to tie its mechanics together. It really doesn't know how to tie its themes and stories together. And then it ends with like a genuinely laughable post-credits and pre-credits sort of sequence of events that makes me go, please don't. Like, okay, slight spoilers or whatever, but like there's a title card, Max Caulfield will return. I yelled at my TV, please don't. It's
It
just,
did the Marvel thing. Oh,
it
that's a bit
is
gross.
straight up, I'm putting together a team ending. And it's bad.
Oh my
I feel like
Lord.
I'm rambling because I feel insane because I also like means I had the unfortunate seeing a bunch. And I genuinely do not understand how you can like that first game and play these first 2 episodes, then play the rest of this and still think it all comes together in any form at all. Like it is incoherently badly written.
That's wild.
Yeah. I feel wild.
Cynically, like obviously they had that fucked up release schedule. Do you like coming from like a very cynical perspective? Do you think they knew what they had there with those last few episodes?
I don't really know because I get the impression that like the game found things, the character stuff that it does from 3 onward, and it's not as a standalone experience. It's fine, I guess. Like I don't think it's bad enough that you'd want to hide it behind a weird release schedule, but at the same time, I mean, I feel how I feel about it. Obviously, people feel very differently, and that's totally fine. But yeah, there is a distinct split from 2 into 3 that changes this game completely.
That's rough.
Question. I know that reviews dropped yesterday, but what's the general vibe?
Quite positive. There's a couple of outliers who same way that, but they are much out.
Okay.
So it's a 72 on Meta at the moment.
I feel like
Not when James tanks it.
I feel like a lot of the negative reviews that I've seen have come from like super fans who've like
Yeah. So that's the other part about this, right? Is that like I love that original game, but I'm not like if you come in and you want to make a sequel table set everybody, go for it. I'm always in support of artists just continuing to tell their stories the way they tell them. What makes this Janet Garcia of various different websites made this point, but like what makes this a bad game isn't that it's a sequel to Life is Strange. It's what it actually does within the parameters of what it sets up in its first 2 episodes. And like it is obviously concerned with the emotional impact of what happened with Max when she was a teenager, but only in a very cursory way. Like this is built as a new Max Caulfield adventure. However you end up feeling about that is your choice, obviously. But that adventure is bad. So,
gotcha.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Did not see that coming.
Well,
no.
Yeah,
This went from
goddamn.
like Game of the Year contender for me in those episodes to pretty
To
quick.
Razzie.
Yeah.
If
Like, sorry, Kieran, go for it.
No, you're right. No, I was just no. You go.
I'm trying to tread carefully around spoilers because obviously there will be people who will enjoy this and I don't want to spoil it for them. But does it feel like I don't know. Does it feel? Is it still Square Enix? Do they still have the publishing rights to it? Yeah,
They
yeah.
do.
Cool,
Band,
cool.
Yeah.
is it Square? Okay.
Does it feel like Square is wanting to make this like a tentpole series? So they're trying to like ramp everything up? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Mhm.
Because what
Mhm.
the little hints I think that you're kind of planting make it, because obviously we've had what Life is Strange 2, True Colors. There are two others, I think.
There's
That is
Before the
all the
Storm,
spin-offs.
which is like the prequel.
Before the Storm, which is the prequel, and then
I think that's it.
What about that little
In terms of
episode
actual Life
spin-off?
is Strange, yeah.
yeah. But there's a whole bunch of things that are kind of loosely connected in the world. And
Mm.
yeah, it sounds like maybe Square are trying to push the series further than it needs to be, as far as like just separate
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, so like I would say that like technically these games do share a connected a cinematic universe, if you will. But within those parameters, even still, the way it uses supernatural and the way it uses powers, for lack of a better word, because the game uses that word, but like the way it uses these things is largely as emotional, metaphorical storytelling tools. Like
Sure.
these things are happening in the world, and yes, these people have powers, but it's more about the themes. It's more about the character work. This game technically barely sticks within that parameter as well. But the way it chooses to go about it makes it feel like there was a story in the back half of this game that should have been the story of this game, not Max Caulfield's continued adventures into this new story. Because now
Yeah.
that they've combined those two things, they've turned it into this really messy, just kind of puddle of franchise slop.
Oof.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It.
Yep.
How do you feel about that, KV? I know you're a big Life is Strange fan. Is that hurt?
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. My only other question was literally going to be like, how, like, do I spend money on it now, or do I just hold off? As like someone who really enjoys the series and still is really
Mhm.
interested in, like,
I don't think you should play this. No.
okay,
Oh, god damn.
I think
that's sad.
those first two episodes would make you feel the way that I felt in that. And look, I will say this, like, it is a very openly queer game. It's a very progressive title in a lot of ways. It feels, in those first two episodes especially, the things like facial animations, voice acting, everything comes together to make this like beautiful, true to life, romantic, sweet, interesting experience that does feel like it genuinely reflects actual queer experiences in a way that is so exciting, especially in this day and age. And so to have that fall off a cliff the way that it does hurts even more. And so I would rather
Yeah,
people just
okay.
not experience that beginning.
I understand.
Oof.
Right.
If you had to put a figure on it,
Mm-hmm. 4.5.
Wow.
Ooh. I did.
Ooh.
That's
Is
why I
that a
said
Redfall?
bummer.
Yeah. No, I like it just doesn't work. It does not work as what it is intending to be. Like I think it is a like outright narrative failure. And on top of that, like it is weirdly buggy. There's a lot of audio problems. There's a lot of visual problems, like outright T-posing. So
Mm.
yeah.
Does it hurt more that the first two episodes were promising? Like, would
Yes.
it surely would have stung less if it was just a stinker out of the gate,
Oh,
yeah?
look,
So then you can
if
have
it
your
had been this,
expectations set?
yeah, I agree. And that's it. Like I think that expectations are a bad way to generally engage with art, but when the art itself sets those expectations within the art,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then decides to nosedive the way that it does, that's not really on me for feeling somewhat betrayed by
No.
what this thing ends up doing.
God, what a mess.
Yeah.
Shit.
Alrighty.
Yep.
Well, speaking of
Go on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know,
You can
Yeah,
do
I
it.
see it. I see it.
messes. Speaking of messes,
This is what I come here for.
that's it. Don't we all? Kieran, you've been reviewing the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster.
No, that's a terrible
Famously an
segue.
absolute mess. Go on,
It
Kieran.
was. Yeah, I said, and the mess was the segue.
Yeah.
Jesus, too
Um,
meta.
Rough.
Is there a notes doc that I don't have access to, by the way? Because I'm
Not one that'll
I'm
help.
flying blind here.
I mean, I put some effort in.
There is a doc, yes.
Yeah,
It's in
cute.
the where it always is. Where do I always ask
Yeah.
where it is?
All right, no admin.
Text channel pin.
Top right. Anyway,
Anyway, Horizon.
Zero Dawn.
Yeah. Horizon
Remastered.
Zero Dawn Remastered. Yeah, I mean, this is like, I feel like it's simultaneously an easy one and a hard one to talk about because I had this conversation with James when he was editing the review, or like I prefaced me sending the review to him with the notion that like all I can really talk about is how well they've remastered the things that they wanted to remaster in this game, because obviously it is Horizon Zero Dawn as it was in 2017, but with a new coat of paint. So I feel like that's like it makes it a known quantity in some regards. If you liked the game before, it's the same game. If you didn't like the game before, it's the same game. I've always been kind of lukewarm on the first game on Zero Dawn. I really liked Forbidden West, but going back even now, I can see why I didn't jive with that first run as much. But as far as the actual effort from Nixies and Gorilla to like revamp it and bring it up to the standard of the second game, like super successful. Like it's phenomenally gorgeous, one of the best looking games I've ever played. They did everything they possibly could have to bring it up to that same standard, and in like a lot of ways it feels more like the game, like the artistic vision that it should have been in the beginning. It's everything. They've gone back to the drawing board and gone, you know, what was the original intent here? Let's not just like beef it up, but let's go back and re-art things and relight things and retexture things and reanimate things until it looks like the eventual vision that Forbidden West was. So for that, like, I really appreciate it. And obviously it's a $15 upgrade if you already own the game. So it's not Sony out to get your money, get your $125 again. It's if you're there for it, if you already like the game, if you already own the game, it's a cheap upgrade and it does a lot for that $15.
But what if you've never owned it? How much is it? Is it 125?
75.
I think
Oh,
is it only 75?
It's
Yeah.
Okay,
reasonable.
cool. That's
Okay.
actually better than I thought. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, that's all I have to say about it. Really, is it's very pretty. It's the same game, but like way prettier. But it's a respectable effort. It's cool to see, and it's cool to see Nixies doing something that's not just a straight PC port, because that's kind of their jive within PlayStation Studios is they port PC games. So this is the first time, I believe, the first time that they've had the autonomy to go in and actually like redo things. So I feel like that's kind of a win for them as well.
are they the studio
They've
that's
done-
got their own game in the works, or is that one of the other porters?
You're thinking
About
of
Bluepoint?
Blue Point, maybe.
Point, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you're thinking, yeah.
Okay.
And that's Blue Point's actually a good comparison because it's like it's sort of halfway between like what you would consider a standard remaster and then like Blue Point's work on Demon Souls and Shadow of the Colossus, where it's still ostensibly the same game but just re-envisioned.
Cool. Rebuilt, some would say.
Almost.
How do you feel about it coming out in the same week as Dragon Age?
I mean, it's Horizon at this point. That's the series.
That's the
sort
MO.
of- that's the MO, right? They release at the worst possible time when everybody's fixated on something arguably better.
After punch up.
Yeah. It's also releasing 2 weeks before a Lego remake of the same game, which
Is that what that Lego game is?
yeah. So Lego Horizon Adventures
Eventually.
is Horizon Zero Dawn again.
Oh,
Lego
So-
fired.
So we're
I
essentially
thought it
getting
was
the
just
same.
like an original Aloy adventure, which is a
No.
funny sentence actually. But
No, it's a. I mean, it's very different in terms of how it presents the narrative, but it is the same narrative as the first game.
Mm.
the more you know.
I think it's almost weirder that it's not releasing with the Pro.
That's the thing that got me, I think, is like, because it does have a pro mode, or it will have a pro mode in a week. So it's an interesting, like, I'm not sure what the goal was there, like with the release timing, but it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, it's gorgeous. It has some of the best foliage I've ever seen in a game. So if you're a sucker for foliage, which I know Con from Bandai Namco is, so if he's listening, play Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered.
Well, he needs something nicer after hearing James just fucking.
Yeah. If he is listening, he stopped listening after this point.
Yeah,
I do have one quick question. Does it include the Frozen Wilds, or is it just the base? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and that's again that's also made better by virtue of, you know, they've got the weather technology from Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah.
And that game, that DLC worked heavily on vibe, and the vibe is better because the weather is more convincing. The snow looks amazing. Yeah.
Nice. All right.
I have
James.
an existential question. How do we feel about teams like this that are obviously really talented, to feel like they're part of the current gen, working on PS4 games instead of PS3, PS2, like actual updates to old games? Like, is Sony just staring at its reflection a bit much?
I think the fact we haven't got an Infamous remake master like the original two is fucking wild.
Yeah. And
I generally disagree with the whole remaking games from, like, I don't know, that you can remember playing not that long ago, and you're like, no, surely it wasn't. It was.
You can literally play on the same platform.
Yeah, exactly. And that, like, I'm not going to say don't need a graphical overhaul, because like you said, Kieran, like, it definitely is more in line with the sequel and this, that, and the other, and The Last of Us had the same bullshit excuse. But I also don't think we need to, like, it's nice to see those learnings. I don't think we need to go back and reshape the past by re-releasing something. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I feel like I've complained about it plenty in the past.
Yeah, no, I get that. Like, if it was me, like, I'd want them working on a Jack and Daxter remaster, but I know that's not going to happen. So, yeah, obviously, Sony obviously has a marketing case for it. Like, they have data. They think it's going to do well, so people are going to buy it and play it and enjoy it. But you're right, James. It's like it's well, you didn't make a point, but you are right. It's kind of disappointing that these you know, very talented teams do just get put on something that you would argue there are better avenues to go, but hopefully this is upward momentum for them.
Yeah, they can blue point themselves.
Yeah.
They can make
blue themselves.
Forbidden West next.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it 3 years. They'll do that too. Why not?
I assume Ghost of Tsushima is going to get this treatment pretty soon.
What kind of...
It had the director's cut. That game, I also played it recently. If there is a game that doesn't need it, it is that. The game still looks and plays.
They'll make the wind even windier.
Yeah. It blows out of the controller now.
Yeah. It literally, like, blows your hair back while you're playing it. Like...
Nah, fuck it. I take back what I said, Sony. Make it happen.
Give me the wind.
I want to be wind blown.
You just wanted to have some sort of like a Dyson crossover. The wind powered by.
I didn't know that I wanted that until
powered by Dyson.
Now.
Wind tech. There you go.
Woo!
The wind.
Let's have it.
Okay, shut up. All right, Nathan.
Zach.
How you going?
Do I get a segue? You've been doing me dirty the past few weeks, boy.
Yeah, go
Hang on. You hadn't.
Kind of like an X.
Let me continue. If you let me go with my segue, it's going to say you've been a bit quiet tonight. Are you all right?
No.
Speaking of things that have been pretty quiet, Xdefiant.
I'll pay that. I'll pay that because
I didn't know I didn't even know this game was still a thing. I thought they'd cancelled it.
Exactly. So how topical to bring this up at the end of October, because Xdefiant, that one launched in May 21st. That's been a hot minute. And So much
Wait,
so that
why is October topical? Sorry.
well, I don't know specifically, but I was just gonna finish by saying Ubisoft's been putting out statements saying, "Hey, remember that game? It's still alive." And then I'm
Okay.
gonna tell you, it kind of saying alive is stretching it, but there's someone playing it, and that someone was me.
Do you reckon more people are playing Xdefiant or Payday 3?
Oh
Xdefiant.
dear.
Well, actually, you were only
Yeah,
one
probably
person.
got a
and-
friend with
and
you.
it was sorry, Payday. Anyway, carry on, sir.
So I've been actually steadily plucking away at Xdefiant since May 21st, and I've been having a good time. And one of the nice things about putting this review out at the end of October is having been able to see the trajectory of growth in this Ubisoft free-to-play shooter. This is a 6v6 shooter based on Ubisoft's pretty wide-ranging franchises. A lot of it being, well, they're all action franchises. A lot of them are Tom Clancy franchises, whether that be The Division, Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell. They all star here. Whether that be map design based on the essence of those games, you're not going to see anything in Xdefiant that you will ostensibly recognize from those aforementioned games, rather the vibe and reinterpretations of settings and locales. You're also going to be seeing not characters from those titles I mentioned, but placeholder kind of interpretations of generic characters that would work in those games. So, for example, Splinter Cell, we're just going to give you a lot of leather-clad dudes with those like little night goggles on their heads, and you'll pretend that they're old Sam Fishers. They're not Sam Fishers, but so it's an unusual
Sam
game.
Flushes.
Exactly. Bam flushes. Yeah, it's it's such an
Fisher
unusual
Price.
title
What
for
are we doing?
for Ubisoft to have bought out this here free to play title, because it's competing in a pretty saturated market, right? Where folks already have their established games that they like to play with their friends, whether it be Fortnite, Apex, etc. So, Zach,
Just a quick
what do you
question.
got for me, baby?
This is first person, yes. This is the first person one. What's the third
Correct,
person one that
indeed.
they cancelled one, didn't they?
Oh,
What's
they've
third
cancelled
person?
plenty.
Anyway.
Knockout Kings. Fucking.
No, I thought there was a
Like
shooter
Hyper
shooter.
something.
Maybe.
Oh, Hyperscape.
That
That was
wasn't.
first. That was first person too, though.
Maybe it's the
Correct.
Division one I'm thinking of then.
Oh, Heartland, was that it?
Maybe that one.
Yeah, that got binned.
Yeah, which I'm still a little bit about. So this is a really unusual title to come through, especially in this market. And to cut to the short of it, has it found its audience? No, it has not, folks. I'm really sad to say. But that doesn't mean that it's not a good game, because it is. So you're going to, in this game, you get, as I say, you get a smorgasbord of Ubisoft franchises that are reinterpreted, whether it be the factions that are represented in various Ubisoft games and sort of general settings that are reinterpreted into maps. And those maps are 3-lane highways that you see in your Overwatches or whatever your sort of hero shooter games are these days. And there is a lot of hero shooter DNA here, as well as a lot of very, very old school Call of Duty DNA. I'm talking right the way back to Call of Duty 4, no later than Call of Duty World at War. So you're not going to be doing anything too crazy in your maps. It's going to be you and your 6 dudes loading up on one side of the map, picking which of your 3 lanes you're going to march down to meet the enemy. You're going to have pretty much every game mode that you will find in a free-to-play shooter today, whether that be escort the payload, your several different flavors of area control, free-for-all, several team deathmatch variants. There is a very good array of game modes here. Of course, you need a strong player base to make those game modes viable. There's not a great player base here. I mean, not a burgeoning one anyway. So part of the reason why this review's taken me almost like 6 months or so to put out is because I, generally speaking, work during multiplayer peak hours. So a lot of my multiplayer sessions are spent during Australian daytime hours. For me to play Xdefiant during Australian daytime hours means that I'm sitting in lobbies waiting for matchmaking up to 10 minutes at a time. I've got 40 hours game time in this game, but I've only actually got just over 30 hours of actual in-game play. That is almost 10 hours of just sitting and waiting for lobbies. So that's been a big challenge for this review to get out the gate.
How are the lobbies?
In terms of,
How do you
well,
rate them? Well, you spent 10 hours in them, so are they
pretty
enjoyable?
droll, mate. You get
Okay,
to see a lot of, hey, here's the latest news in Xdefiant. Would you like to buy our microtransactions? I don't get to communicate with the lobby because there's been a weird trend this year with Ubisoft Live Services. They haven't been implementing functional chat functions in their games. So, for instance, Skull and Bones, I didn't put that review out on launch. I waited a while, and that game never got a functioning chat service. It's just it's in the game. It just says Ubisoft chat service are offline whenever you go to play it. Similar thing in Xdefiant, you can only communicate with your team. There's no old chat or anything like that, and it's censored worse than Club Penguin. If you say mate, that's a nasty slur word, and you'll be put on notice. So be careful about what you say. I could get almost no ordinary Australian language past those censors, so that was kind of odd. But the game itself, as I alluded to, is pretty good. So, being a first-person shooter in the style of your older CODs, there's a big emphasis on movement. That is boots on the ground movement. You're not going to be doing any kind of omnidirectional jumping around, dolphin diving like you see in the latest Black Ops, but you will be able to slide around on your bum. And one thing I really like is if you slide down a hill, you gain that momentum and you keep sliding, baby. So, there's a really good sense of momentum and as well as building velocity when you're moving around in these maps across your 3 lanes. And weapon feedback is something that they've continually worked on since this game has been live. When the game first launched, I think probably when Adam and James just briefly played this with me, there was very much a sniper rifle meta. So you go around, you're getting dinged headshots every 5 seconds. It was pretty rough to stay alive in those early lobbies. That's all been tightened up now, and I can pretty confidently say that any kind of weapon type is viable. Obviously, there's stronger and lesser options within those categories, but everything's kind of represented pretty evenly. I feel comfortable playing the way that I want to play in Xdefiant and feeling rewarded for it. I alluded to earlier that it's also got a lot of hero shooter DNA. Every single Ubisoft faction, whether that be the Cleaners from The Division, or Echelon from the Splinter Cell games, Libertad from Final Fantasy... different franchise, bro. Far Cry 6. We've also got Far Cry 5 has just popped in there, so we're also going backwards through the Ubisoft canon. All of these factions will have 2 abilities that you can choose from that are very indicative of what would represent those characters in those games. For instance, the new Far Cry 5 faction, they've got access to, or rather, no, sorry, a better example would be the Rainbow Six operators. So we've got a Rainbow Six Siege faction. They'll be able to put down barbed wire, because if you've played Rainbow Six Siege, you understand that putting barbed wire on the floor as a sort of pathway impediment is essential. That's a big thing here, as well as their alternative being able to put down a turret that will rather defend against any grenades or throwables that come your way. They'll pick it out of the sky and you're defended, and that's really neat. The Cleaners from The Division, so if you've played The Division, you'd recognize the Cleaners. They're kind of like a pyro maniac faction. They really love their pyrokinetics. They're able to create like a little Molotov explosion around them that's great for clearing out contested areas, very effective, as well as throwing a fire, like a drone that makes a straight line, blows up at the end of its trajectory, leaves a devastating trail of fire. These are all like really thematically well tied to their franchises and work perfectly, and they're all very situational. So depending on what map that you're playing on, what game mode, and who your teammates are, you're going to switch between those to find what's complementary, and you're able to switch between those every time you respawn. So very lovely. It doesn't lock you into anything. Weapons, or rather weapon progression, is something I really enjoyed about this game. It's challenge-based progression. So if you want to say, if you really like using your assault rifles and you just want to unlock more assault rifles, the game goes, cool. Here are some very basic objectives for you to clear with your assault rifles, and we'll give you the next new assault rifle because you'll have proved that you're ready for it. So it might say, get 15 headshots with an assault rifle. you're actually going to hit those targets pretty easily. And because as you do so, not only are you going to unlock that new assault rifle, but you're also unlocking obviously the relevant attachments for that weapon that you're using. All of this very elegant. All of it works together quite well. And this is also a game that's clearly from a very, I would say, pretty skilled team. Like this strikes me that the folks that have worked on Xdefiant aren't new to the online multiplayer space. They're very carefully curated. Their map design, weapon design, character design, even the fact that I didn't mention this, but the factional heroes also have ultimate abilities, like you would in Overwatch, for instance. You play in your game mode long enough, you contribute enough to the team score, you're going to fill up your little ultimate meter and unlock ultimate. So, for instance, I think it's the Ghost Recon faction. No, it's the Echelon faction from Splinter Cell. They're able to all of a sudden see through walls and see every enemy on the map, kind of due to their like little thermal vision type of thing, and makes it very easy to pick off your enemies. Again, very, very elegant. So this is all stuff that they've obviously borrowed from the contemporary free-to-play shooter market, and it's all the best pickings. They've made very smart decisions here about what they've brought over. So that's really neat. James, jump on down.
I have a question. So, I mean, you're obviously someone who spent a lot of time the meta of a lot of these types of hero shooters and these experiences, right? You have a clear understanding of the market. And it sounds like what they've built here is actually a pretty good one of these. I mean, save some of the maybe the economy stuff that you might get into, but like, is it weird for you to kind of like see a game that you know is actually one of the good ones of these, but because of the wider sort of public perception around it, you just know the audiences are going to bounce off of it? Like, what do you do with that feeling?
Be very disappointed because it doesn't see the actual result of this obviously is that it hasn't been able to retain an audience, and then you've got someone like myself who has to really compromise on when they can actually try and enjoy the game. The fact that I can't play it during the daytimes, or if I can, I'm stuck in a match where I'm the one with the worst connection because I'm probably connected to someone overseas. It just means that my enjoyment of the game is impacted despite how fundamentally well it's designed. The fact that really what it comes down to is the game doesn't have, in my opinion, a defining sense of identity. It's all well and good to cherry pick all the best elements of everything on the market, but it hasn't been packaged in a way that appeals to something fresh and new that is worth your time. I'm not saying it's not worth your time. I just don't think it's been marketed in that way. And some of the examples I'll give right now are some of the cons, which I think are perhaps maybe better highlighted for this game than the things it does well. For instance, this as a free-to-play game, whether or not you pay for a battle pass as your prerogative, you're going to be getting a lot of cosmetic unlocks. There are actual weapons to be unlocked in the battle pass. That's not a big deal, and I won't really touch on that. But cosmetics are given to a single weapon at a time. And then the issue that happens is in the battle pass, if I unlock a specific skin for a specific kind of submachine gun, I'm also going to unlock that identical skin multiple times for multiple different weapons. That's not a deal breaker. The issue is 80% of those weapons are the most garish. Oh, sorry, cosmetics are the most garish cosmetics you could choose. Whether that be a really like gross kind of pond scum green that's also covered in scratches and defects. The fact is, if you put these skins on, they look worse than the default skins of the weapons. So who wins? It's certainly not the player that's unlocked those skins. And as the player is progressing and unlocking and unlocking and unlocking, they're going to find very quickly that it is those eyesore cosmetics that you would be embarrassed to use. You're constantly unlocking for multiple weapons over and over and over again. I could probably count on both hands the actual variety of skins I've seen for guns. That's kind of an unfair criticism, though, because apparently in high-end play, which I haven't actually encountered much of, folks that have spent hundreds of hours, if they even exist, will unlock special mastery skins for weapons that are very impressive. They have like 3D animation effects. Despite watching like other folks in Australia, I've not actually witnessed any of these. So it looks like the community has left long before these cool cosmetics have made it onto the scene in actual gameplay. This also extends to character cosmetics as well. Each faction has 3 character models. Every single character model will have their own skin. Most of the time, a lot of these skins are indistinguishable because they're just slight color palette swaps, and some of them I can't, like, there are various examples where I can't tell the difference between them. Then you've got the opposite end of the scale where you've got some premium skins that, again, very flashy, very cool, very nice, few and far between. There are still connectivity issues on the Australian server side of things. So even though I'll be constantly running, if I do play during peak hour, get a nice ping of 30, there are too many instances that are still occurring in games where you might be safely behind cover, having just avoided a firefight, and bullets will just like curve around the corner and trail you a good second or two after you're in cover and you're dead. And you're left going, well, that's not very fun. Probably worse still is if you're in a combat encounter and you've clearly like wiped out the enemy, and then half a second passes, you're dead. Everything on your screen registered that you'd attacked the enemy and they should be dead, but the enemy runs away with full health and you're left murked on the floor. There's still kind of a little bit of that. And what that also means is that's probably a big telltale sign there that this game was never going to be able to support a ranked competitive community. Because if you've got that kind of like poor hit detection still happening, no one who takes the competition seriously is going to hang around. So sadly, I'm not motivated by high-end competition. I've just played this casually and enjoyed it, but that is still leaves a sour taste. As I've said, obviously, there's that lack of identity. The fact that we've got all these Ubisoft franchises represented is fantastic. The fact that they've given us no real meaningful interaction with those franchises is a bit of a shame. It would have been maybe even funny to have seen a bunch of Sam Fishers running around, for instance, like notable characters from these franchises. Or maybe that speaks to the wider sense that maybe Ubisoft is struggling to define really remarkable characters for these games to then cross over into a game like Xdefiant. So they've just had to create these generic kind of robot characters that wear the skins of something you'd recognize from those games. Yeah, so that's kind of the good and bad of Xdefiant. I would say there's only one deal breaker for a lot of people, and as I said, it would be the fact that Aussies are struggling to find servers and struggling with some connectivity woes. I've seen statements put out from Ubisoft, someone or other, just being like, well, like, too bad, because it's been months now, and that's really disappointing. I get no impression that this game is really setting itself up to survive. As much as I've enjoyed it, I got to say that it is a sunk cost. Like, after 5 months of growth, I don't see the future here, particularly without the community. Like, as much as it's a fundamentally satisfying game to play, and I've enjoyed every match I've played, flaws and all, and that's really remarkable to say. It's a shame, and I won't be surprised to see it shut down next year, and that hurts. Yeah, I'll give this one a 7 out of 10, folks. How we feel?
7's not bad.
Oh,
I
absolutely
mean, sounds like a fun shooter. I'm obviously not the target audience.
No.
It doesn't sound like the target audience gives much of a shit either, which is a shame.
Yeah, the community just isn't in love with this one. But I can say hand on heart that my actual proper 30 hours of game time in it, I enjoyed. Really liked.
Before it gets shut down, we'll do a well-played stream, maybe. Little goodbye to Xdefiant.
We can spend an hour waiting to hit in the game. Yeah, it'll be great.
That's it.
Shout-outs.
Oh.
All right. Speaking of
Shout-outs.
what a great little segue that was. But
There you go. You're getting better.
Jade has reviewed Botworld Odyssey, and she writes, Botworld Odyssey is an open-world creature-collecting RPG that is perfect for those who want to experience real-time interactive fights in a cozy and lighthearted atmosphere with a fun story. 8 out of 10. Good stuff. Go read that review.
The game looks good.
It
on the
does.
website.
It looks real neat.
It's an Aussie game too, from memory.
Yeah,
Is it?
Oh,
I think it is.
Yeah.
Huh.
what?
If something's not at PAX, I don't know if it's Australian.
I just can't remember if it's. I can't remember
Good
where in Australia it's from. I think it's from Melbourne, but don't hold me to that one. All right, James, over to you.
Yes. I guess speaking of Ubisoft's troubled development times, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown team has been disbanded, despite that game rave critical sort of reviews and success and whatnot. This French outlet Origami has reported this. Apparently, lackluster sales has led to the team sort of being not laid off, but just dispersed throughout the wider Ubisoft apparatus. Most of them, it seems like they're going back to Beyond Good and Evil 2's continued troubled development, which is, I mean, kind of really sad because according to the report, the people who left that game to work on The Lost Crown described it as kind of like getting out of something bad. That they found that the Lost Crown development was this like really wonderful thing. I think at the time as well, there was discussions about how it was more streamlined and more cost effective, and this was the new Ubisoft internally. Turns out, doesn't matter. Make a great game, you're still going to get, kind of fucked by the system. So they've been put back onto Beyond Good and Evil 2. This also resulted in the DLC getting scrapped, and yeah, just shit, real bad. I liked this game a lot.
The only thing I will say that is to Ubisoft's credit is they haven't let go of anyone that we know of. So I think that given their how they're trending, it wouldn't have been.
Yeah, for sure.
It wouldn't have been surprising to be like,
yeah, just cut it loose.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's because it's kind of like you recognize clearly an exceptionally talented team, and so it's like they could. And I tweeted about this at the time, but like even if you have lost faith in the Prince of Persia IP ever selling well again, whatever, keep the team together though. They clearly have a synergy to them. Let them just do something else.
I think this is just purely my take. I think where Ubisoft is at, they can't afford to take risks like that anymore. That's yeah.
Also feel like they kind of sent this out at a weird time, right? They cannibalized the series. Like it was so easily avoidable. They released this and Rogue Prince of Persia right next to each other, like not that long after they announced that development on the Sands of Time remake was kind of starting over with a different team. Like, like I don't know why you would double barrel Prince of Persia. Like, it's not a series that you can just kind of flood the market with adaptations of. So it just seems like a really weird choice.
Yeah, I think that's what's most disappointing about the situation. It's like it's not that necessarily that the team disbanded. It's not necessarily that we're not going to get a sequel to The Lost Crown. It's more just like looking at Ubisoft, like watching them flub the marketing and release of these games and then be like, well, obviously people don't want that shit, so go back to Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah. It's like, we didn't put this out on Steam, but why didn't it sell? Like,
and it's such a shame because this had an identity, which I think Ubisoft is desperately missing. Like all of their games feel the fucking same. It's no longer like, oh, it feels like an Assassin's Creed, or oh, it feels like Far Cry. It just feels like Ubisoft.
It genuinely it calls back to like Rayman Legends, Valiant Hearts, like era Ubisoft, like real big shit.
100%. And for it to like stand on its own 2 feet, and then they're like, nah, cut the feet off them. We're not making these games anymore. It's just it's disappointing.
One's a question. I got a question for you, James, and well, I guess everybody. Do you think price hurt this game?
Look, okay, not to be inflammatory, but no, but only because I think that like the whole value proposition is more quite dumb, and not the games themselves. So like you could say yes, price did hurt it, but that's not the game's fault, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the second thing I was going to say just sort of ties onto what Kieran was saying, is it's a shame because Ubisoft still has this little part of it deep hidden in those hallways that can do these cool little indie, or not indie, but unique and different titles. They've still got that part of them in there somewhere, but they just keep it chained up for the most part.
Surely it shows that it's not so much surely it's not so much the creatives that are, putting time and effort into the games, but there must be like an executive decision to just pump out, open world checklist bullshit that worked back in the early or like the late 2000s. Because clearly if you put the right team together and say, make something of your own, clearly that works. And like Kieran said, it's not like they haven't done it before. We have seen these little, pockets of gold, but it's just they are content on churning out the same shit. Very cookie cutter.
Mm.
I had a transition lined up for this based on what something Adam said about feet being cut off, and that reminded me of Rayman, how he's got fake gap feet.
Hey,
yeah,
you brought it
we
back
all see where
around.
I was going with this.
Yeah.
Anyway, new Rayman is coming from Montpellier and Milan are working on this. Interestingly, it seems like I guess Michael, whatever, Ansel, who is allegedly apparently quite tied to the toxic workplace environment that was going on at Ubisoft for a period of time there, is on the project in a world building capacity. But the fact that he's allowed back into a project like this, to me, is like, what are we doing, Ubisoft? Which leads into my
I think
next
as long
point.
as
Is Ubisoft
as long as he
bad?
builds the rabbids out of Raymond, maybe we can forgive past undoings. No, that's
Raymond.
obviously I don't.
There's a lot of
Rayman, sorry.
Everyone
can
loves
get
muscle
Raymond.
rabbits, you can get away with anything.
Everyone loves Raymond.
Fuck off.
I was just disappointed I didn't take a moment to mention that they have like featured the rabbits in Xdefiant. Like that's probably the most characterful part of
Gross, no.
Xdefiant.
They should
Why
have a
do they
zombies
put
mode,
out
but it's a Rabbids mode.
Ooh, I like it.
I don't hate that.
Good on you, Zach.
Kieran does.
He does. No, he'll come around.
I'll send Eves a little bill in the mail for that one. All right,
Do you know what else you could get sent in the mail, Zach?
do tell.
A physical copy of Resident Evil 7, 2, and 3.
Oh, I
Whoa.
like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
But
because they're getting
hang
physical.
Hang on, but what if I've already got
Hold
my
up.
PS4 copy of Resident Evil 2, 7, or 3? Why would I
Well,
buy
these
this
ones
one,
come
James?
with fancy new covers, and they're only $49.
And they're also PS5.
Well, yes, PS5 enhanced.
Come on,
Oh,
come on! I was trying to bloody.
I just like, why would they be releasing PS4 games in 2024 like this? I thought it was implied.
Well,
Jeez, we're good at this.
We are.
Yeah,
This
I
is
don't-
such good news. No, I like this news. I'm absolutely too. Like, I want a little survival horror hot PS5 collection.
You sound stoked.
Sexy. I am stoked. Thank you.
I really want to get back into. I want to do like a resi run after Silent Hill.
You should. They're really good, especially 6. No, we're good.
But
Never finished 6. I should.
You
Leon's
should
campaign
try
is
it again.
good. Leon's
Neither did
campaign is good.
Capcom.
Hey,
If anything, I'd argue they finished it 4 times over.
Too many
much
times.
finishing it.
All right, quick, James. Can you rate me?
Tier list.
The hottest characters in RE6.
So let's start with S rank.
Oh, fuck me. Oh shit. I guess like, okay.
The credits.
What?
No, I bet he's gonna say. I bet
Keep
I bet you he'll say Jake.
Oh yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Jake is
Fucking
in
hell,
the
I
S tier
knew
one,
it.
I think.
I knew you'd say
Um,
Jake. I hate you.
Yeah.
So Jake's
Sorry.
in the S tier.
Hate your
Do we
tasting
have any
man.
superstars
Jake's in the S tier.
A
I think Ada's probably in the S tier as well because she's always S tier no matter where she shows up.
call.
And then I think after that, A tier would be like Sherry and
Isn't she? No, that's sorry too. Never mind.
yep, nope, she's an adult. Zach.
Yeah.
This is shut up.
So,
And I guess Pierce is not bad. Pierce
how
is
about
okay.
Leon?
Leon
B
and Chris
tier.
in that game don't look right to me.
Leon
There's
looks
something wrong.
well right.
No.
Chris is
They're like
too
too
many
Oh
many.
no, he
protein
doesn't.
shakes, mate.
Oh god.
And then probably in the C tier is also
Wait.
woman whose name
Woman.
I forget.
Bloody woman.
She is Helena, is it?
Oh, oath. Can't remember what she looks
Yeah.
like.
Leon
She had like
looks
kind of like 70s porn hair. It was like a
Hmm.
from memory anyway.
Anyway, enough about RE6.
I
This
thought
is
you
the
were going to ask
content-
me to rank the campaigns, which I could have done very. Then you
Nah, this
pivoted
is this is a better topic though. Okay,
I would
rank,
listen to this podcast.
Rank the campaigns for me quickly. Let's see where we meet. First one,
S tier is
Leon.
Sherry and Jake.
No, wrong.
B for Leon, C for Chris, and then D for Ada.
Interesting. I think Ada was my second favorite from memory,
Ooh, no.
and then I think Chris, and then I think the other ones that are there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Oostenank. Remember Oostenank?
No, I try to forget that game.
I don't. Right up here.
All right. Anyway, other news.
Oh, that's all I've got. So,
Doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, I've got
do you have
nothing
any
else
news,
to.
Zach, that you want to hit on?
No, we did mention before Blackheart's out, but give another shout out to Ascending Inferno. That is
Yes,
out this week.
please.
That's the Aussie fucking game where you kick the soccer ball around.
Check it
Did that
out.
justice. Nice work.
Oh my goodness.
But the soccer ball's the spirit. Pretty neat. Go check out. Adam's done a little preview, so go check that one out on the website. All right, off
Thanks,
topics.
Adam.
Let's go through off topics very quickly. I went and saw Venom.
Oh
Venom.
no.
Venom.
I didn't pay for it.
You didn't pay
Knock,
for
knock,
it.
let the
Good.
devil in.
I didn't pay for it, so
Nathan gets me. It's fine.
sure. No, I didn't get it, and I'm also just trying to.
Is it
Land the plane.
fucking terrible?
It's a Venom film. Yes.
So
Says
yes.
it all.
Yeah.
I did like the second one though.
Yeah.
Sorry, stop everything. What? You're sorry, what? You liked the second one with
I was
Woody
partial.
Harrelson.
Yeah, yep.
Were you high?
Maybe.
I hope so.
Don't remember.
Jesus. Oof.
Very good. Yeah, bad film. I also watched Don't Move, which is on that new one on Netflix, where it's the fucking who's the guy that did Spider-Man? Sammy Raimi.
Sam
Sammy
Raimi.
Raimi.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Sammy Raimi.
Sam Raimi.
Oh, his name's Sam.
know
Sorry.
Sammy Raimi.
What do I think his name is Sammy for?
Oh, Sammy Raimi.
Hang on,
Sammy
Troy-
Raimi.
Sammy Raimi.
Sammy Raimi and Troy Barker, mate. Big fans. All right. That's pretty much been me. Oh, and From stinks, man. I'm so sick of that show. That show's bullshit. That show's just like nothing has happened. Something like you know that meme where he's like poking the stick, like do something. That's how I feel when I watch that show. Anyway,
That's
What
what I
else
was
is
concerned about. It did seem like it was all set up, no delivery.
well, like nothing. Yeah. Anyway, we don't have time for me to rant. Nathan, what have you watched?
Boys. Did
Oh,
myself
no.
a little favor last week. Went down to Pal's little daytime screening for The Substance.
Ooh, is that good?
Never before have I sat in the cinema and for half the film watch it through my fucking hands like a child. It is the most uncomfortable fucking horror film I've seen since Titan, and that film made me physically nauseous. I loved it, don't get me wrong. It was brilliant, like exceptionally good. Margaret Qualley and Demi Moore doing a whole like, I'm going to take a special like black market injection. It's going to split my cells, create a new me out of me, and I've got to like it creates the story setup's brilliant. The younger, more perfect version played by Margaret Qualley, they've got a 7-day period that they've switched back and forth between one another. Otherwise, it creates a degenerative process. So they've got to keep doing this body swap whilst the black market dealers are telling them, you're both the same person. Take care. Don't make any kind of compromises, and you'll be fine. You'll be able to play both sides of this. You'll be able to live as a young, thriving supermodel whom everyone loves, and you can also be, a little bit aged, a little bit, don't give a fuck. It's remarkable. I absolutely loved everything the story hit. I loved it. I pretty much loved everything about it, to be honest. But it is so excruciatingly uncomfortable when it starts to play on its body horror tropes around the halfway point, making for just an absolutely dreadful descent into just insecure body dysmorphic horror that was hilarious at times. Like it does play into a bit of comedy. It's extremely confronting. It's a great critique. It's clearly made by a French filmmaker who does not give a fuck. Can't recommend it enough. Oh my goodness. Do not try and consume any food with this film. I'm not a queasy fella. I feel like I got a pretty iron gut, as we know famously on the podcast. I can handle any kind of food, any kind of substance. Boy, oh boy, this film made me like car sick. Highly recommend, boys. I genuinely think this is one for the books.
Hell yeah.
Interesting. That's not.
Mm-mm.
I've got a couple of Gold Pass tickets. I'm thinking about not Gold Pass, Gold Class.
Yeah, take a bucket, mate.
I want to see Smile too, though. So, I
Yeah, I do too. I really enjoyed the first Smile. I know that not everyone felt the same. Adam, I think, fucking hated it, but
I've
Yep,
heard the
not a
second
fan.
one is much better. So
Okay.
brilliant.
Watch It Follows instead.
yeah,
Also,
a
good
real
time.
movie.
Mhm.
Go on. That's it. All right, fair enough. James.
That's all you get.
No, I don't think I've done anything. I'm still on the second book. It is getting better and better. Very exciting time. I love Fitz. Good character. Shout out to my Fitz heads.
Can you just just for
Ooh.
those who might not have
Yeah.
heard, what's the book called?
The Farseer trilogy. The one I'm on is Royal
Ah, yeah.
Assassin.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Kieran, I know you don't watch any movies, but do you watch any TV
I don't
shows?
watch any movies. No, I actually watched. I went to the movies the other night and watched Saturday Night,
Oh,
Oh, cool. Is that out? Yeah,
which
right.
was, I think it's out this week, but they had like a
cool.
preview screening on a Saturday night appropriately. And that was a lot of fun. It was what I expected. It's kind of just like a real time, like 90-minute pre-show kind of mockumentary style. Yeah, it was cool. I don't know. I really liked it.
Nice.
But I've also just been working through my first time watch of Desperate Housewives, which I'm having a lot of fun with.
Nice.
Sure. Is-
you gonna play the video
Yeah.
game?
And I'm gonna play the video game eventually.
Legend.
Can,
Stream
may,
It's ready to go.
may I ask why? What brought on the Desperate Housewives
Nah,
choice?
You're straight. You won't understand.
No, my partner
Well-
kept begging me to watch it, and I eventually caved, and now I'm having a great time.
Okay.
That's it.
Eva Longoria.
I mean,
I'm more of a
Ah.
Bree stan, but you know,
Okay.
I don't know who that is. All right.
I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that.
Oh. Oh.
Okay. How can
Yeah.
we top that? Speaking of
Yeah.
tops, KV.
Oh,
oh yeah, no, you've got this. Yeah, keep going.
No. So 2000 film of the week. Let's hear it. Let's wrap this bad boy up.
Give us this.
Yeah.
Wait, so
I don't,
you-
how does this even work?
Yeah, right. Okay, so
Did you not induct him? Poor guy.
well, I thought he might listen to the potty, so I thought, this is
No.
this
He's
is
a
this
busy
is
boy.
this is the test. You get asked to do 2000 film of the week to see if you've listened to the potty or not. You're dead to me.
Okay.
No, so what you need to do is you just read out the synopsis of the film, exclude any juicy bits that might give it away right away, and we got to guess
Oh no, I fucked it
the
then.
film. You fucked it.
it's from 2020.
Do you want to give him a moment?
Sure.
No, I gotta read the synopsis, but like, it's gonna give it away straight away.
Indiana Jones goes on a globe-trotting adventure.
So is the goal for one of you to guess what the film is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some of us have
But I
actually
can,
watched movies.
but I can omit anything that's going to give me away straight away,
You
right?
may.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Okay. Protagonist and her parents move into an old house that has been divided into flats. The other tenants include Miss Spink and Miss Forcible, two elderly women retired from the stage, and Mr. Bobo, who claims to be training a mouse circus. The flat behind protagonist, which lies behind a big brown door, remains empty. Nothing yet, Zach?
Oh, it's Coraline.
Yeah.
I was like,
I
I,
wouldn't have
Hell
been able
yeah.
to pick that.
I was like, some of it is I can feel it, but I can't.
The mouse
I'm glad
circus
I didn't-
threw me, and then I was like, wait, no, there is a mouse circus in that movie.
There is a
Never
mouse
mind.
circus.
So who's seen Coraline? Quick check.
Long time ago.
No.
Yeah,
Okay,
when
cool. So me and James haven't.
It's great. It's a
I was
wonderful,
gonna-
wonderful animated movie.
I was originally going to pick Pan's Labyrinth, but I feel like you would have got that straight away.
Yeah, we've already
Yeah.
done that one.
And I'm pretty
Zach
sure
won.
we've done that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of
Yeah.
Zach's earlier ones, I think.
Yeah,
Good film.
Yeah,
Should watch that
great
again.
film.
Pizza Night and Pan's Labyrinth. There you go. Lock it in. Fly down for it,
Oh,
James.
Let's do it.
Fly
I'll
up
come
for it,
around.
Adam.
Yeah,
On
mate,
my
I'm
way.
there.
All right.
That was a good
Any-
one.
Any last words?
Coraline? Never mind. Sorry, I was spelling it out as I wrote it into the sheet. Bring us home.
Thanks, James.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the WellPlayed DLC podcast. Wait, one last announcement. For any Wind Waker fans, I know I just want to see James' reaction. Any Wind Waker fans, tickets go on sale. They're touring. Get around it. You can check out the content on www.well-played.com.au. Yes, I will have a Steel Series Arctis Buds review up. I'll chat about it next week for you. I know you're very keen to hear all about it. Have a great weekend. Go download Xdefiant. Do it for Nathan.
Come play with me.
Yeah, do it for Nathan.
Please.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Fare thee well.
Bye.